Greetings and welcome to another Pokemon 2019 or Pokemon Journeys anime episode review. This time I'm talking about episode 110, so let's get to it. Episode 110 begins with Ash and Goh on a Whalmer. They are on their way to the Sea Mauville. They soon get to their destination where Asahi is waiting for them. She leads them to the entrance of the mission area. Ash tries to enter, but Asahi stops him, saying that this is as far as he goes, because this time, the mission is only for the challenger. This disappoints Ash, but Goh says, "Don't worry, I will clear the mission for sure." So Ash and Pikachu tell Goh to do his best, and they wish him good luck. Asahi then wants to see the Pokemon that Goh brought along for the mission, and Goh sends out Inteleon. Asahi then says that if Goh heads down the stairs, he will soon reach the meetup spot where he will find the other challengers. Goh wonders if Gary is here already, but Asahi says that Gary should be competing at another facility, so he will not be here. Goh is shocked when he hears this, but he is then disappointed because he wanted to face Gary, showing that Goh does see Gary as a rival. Asahi says that Goh makes it sound like the other challengers do not matter, which I think is the case, knowing Goh. But he says that this is not the case. Asahi says that this mission will not be easy, that there will be plenty of tough rivals, so Goh should watch his back. Goh's expression briefly becomes serious, but Ash reassures Goh, so Goh confidently races down the stairs alongside Inteleon. Now the episode cuts to the opening here, and I do want to point out that in this episode the opening is once again changed. But this time the changes do not have to do with Goh's Pokemon as usual. Instead, the changes this time have to do with what happened in episode 109. So first, when Pikachu uses 10 million Bolt Thunderbolt, the Masters 8, except Ash, are shown, which is very cool. Next, the moment where Ash is seen facing Leon and the Gigantamax Charizard now shows the rest of the Masters 8 next to Leon. This is another amazing change. They are really building the hype for the Masters tournament. Finally, the moment when Mega Lucario's G-Max Aura Sphere clashes with Gigantamax Charizard's G-Max Wildfire is expanded to include Ash and the Lucario, linking their auras to form the massive Aura Sphere. Now this expansion is of course awesome, but unfortunately, it was done by removing Greninja from the opening, which is just awful. This actually inspired me to make a video which I will link in the description below and at the end of this video. So please go watch that video if you haven't already. So the episode resumes with Goh and Inteleon still walking down the stairs. They soon reach the lowest deck, where they find no one. Goh wonders if this is really the meetup spot since no one is here. He soon gets a call from Asahi, who calls every challenger since they are all in position now. Asahi says that the mission this time is survival, to have Pokemon battles with the other challengers and to come out on top. The last person remaining will get 3 Mew tokens. So basically the mission this time is a battle royale. Once Asahi ends the call, all the challengers are shown a map of the facility that also shows their location as a blue dot and the location of every other challenger as a red dot. So this is like calling a UAV in Call of Duty Warzone. Goh realizes what the map and the dots are for. He also realizes that someone is approaching him. Another challenger and his Grand Bull soon attack. Grand Bull uses Ice Fang, but Inteleon uses Mud Shot to knock out Grand Bull in one hit. Now two things here. First, Inteleon knows Mud Shot, which it did not know before, so it learned the move off screen. Second, it is unbelievable that Grand Bull is knocked out in one hit, since Grand Bull is not weak to ground type moves. Mud Shot is a weak move and Grand Bull is likely at full HP. I guess that Goh is just a one-hit wonder, both with captures and in battle. Also, it's funny that Grand Bull's trainer is dressed like Grand Bull. This is a trend, since several trainers in the past have been dressed like their Pokemon, which is always amusing. Another trainer and their Pokemon soon approach Goh and Inteleon, who get ready to battle. But it turns out that they are approached by Horace and Gardevoir. Goh is relieved to see that it's Horace, while Horace is happy to see Goh, saying that the battle began too abruptly. They both then see that the map of the ship on their phones disappears. In its place, they see a 10-minute timer that starts counting down. Goh realizes that they cannot see the map again for 10 minutes. This of course means that the map/radar has a cooldown. This reminded me of the Bullet of Bullets from Sword Art Online, because it is also a battle royale that has a map that reveals the location of other players, but this only happens every 15 minutes. Most battle royales do have a way to see the location of other players, with some restrictions of course, since knowing where the other players are all the time would defeat the purpose of a battle royale. Soon after the map disappears, Goh and Horace are attacked by a trainer and his Barbaracle. Again, the trainer is dressed like their Pokemon. Barbaracle uses Stone Edge, which Inteleon avoids and counters with Mudshot. However, Inteleon is then attacked by yet another trainer and his Pokemon, a Zangoose. This trainer is also dressed like his Pokemon. I guess that matching the trainer's look to that of their Pokemon just makes it easier to design the trainer. Or this is just a fun gimmick that they like to do. So Zangoose uses Fury Cutter, but Inteleon avoids the attack. Gardevoir then uses Moonblast to defeat Zangoose in one hit, while Inteleon uses Snipe Shot to defeat Barbaracle in one hit. Now I get it that they cannot really spend too much time on these individual battles, but come on, are you telling me that none of these Pokemon can take more than one hit? I would understand if they were being hit with strong super effective moves, but this is not the case. This kind of robs Goh and Horace of having any skill, and it takes away any semblance of difficulty from the mission, since they just call for a move which lands no problem and the opponent is defeated in one hit. It would be so much more engaging if Goh and Horace had to struggle a little bit to win their battles. Soon a drone appears to declare that Gramble, Barbaracle, and the Zangoose are unable to battle and that their trainers should go back to the entrance since they have been defeated. The three trainers leave dejected, saying that they can't believe that it's already over, that they were defeated so fast. Well, this is what happens when you face important characters in a competition like this, when you are only a random nameless character. So don't sweat it guys, you did your best. Horace is relieved because he and Goh were able to win, while Goh says that battling together worked out well for them. Goh then has the idea that they should keep battling together, and Horace says that he was thinking the same thing. Now I thought here, doesn't this defeat the purpose of the mission, since this is supposed to be a battle royale, so it's every man for himself. Sure, every battle royale I have ever played does allow you to play solo or as a team, but since this mission started off as a solo battle royale, I think that teaming up during the mission is a bit unfair. Now Ash and Asahi are watching Goh and Horace thanks to the drone. I love that Asahi uses a little Azumarill robotic doll to project the footage from the drone. She must really love Azumarill. So, Ash rejoices because Goh and Horace decided to team up, while Asahi says that Goh and Horace cleared the first obstacle of the mission by realizing that they can team up, meaning that working together is not against the rules. It is in fact something that the challengers are expected to do. But since this was not announced up front, it still does feel unfair to those that don't realize this mid-mission, and to those that don't have a friend that is also participating in the mission, and to those that just refuse to work with others. Speaking of which, Goh is very lucky that Horace is here, because since Goh refuses to cooperate with others, he probably would not have teamed up with anyone else, meaning that he would have had a much tougher time with this mission. So Ash wonders if Asahi thinks that Goh and Horace will clear the mission, and Asahi says that she does not know, that she cannot say for sure. Now I did think here that the rule said that the last person left standing wins, so I knew at this point that Goh and Horace would likely have to face each other in the end. Obviously, Asahi knows this, which is probably why she says that she is not sure of who will win. The episode then cuts to a boy and his Bicobolt. Bicobolt uses Discharge to quickly dispatch a Golduck, and it also uses X-Scissor to make quick work of an Abomasnow. The trainers of Golduck and Abomasnow are disqualified as a result, and they soon leave dejected. while saying we are finished, and that Bicobolt's trainer is strong. Also, they are both dressed like their Pokemon as well. Bicobolt's trainer then utters it's nothing personal, and he decides to walk away. However, he is approached by a girl and her Lipard. The girl says, "You're pretty good." She introduces herself as Lyla and she wonders if the boy will team up with her. The boy introduces himself as Shunya, and he wonders what he will gain from teaming up with Lyla, who smiles and says, "Do you want to test me?" Man, what a badass. Now she likely wants to have a battle with Shunya so that he can see how strong she is. This is cool and all, but it is not a good idea, since they are in the middle of a mission where they will be disqualified if the one and only Pokemon they can use is knocked out. So they probably shouldn't engage in battles unnecessarily. But the battle happens off screen anyway, so we don't know to what extent they battle. The episode then cuts to Goh, Horace, and their Pokemon. They are walking in a dark area of the ship. Because it is so dark, they cannot see clearly. So Goh has Inteleon use echolocation to check their surroundings. Horace comments that Inteleon is like a spy, which is of course very true. Horace then tells Gardevoir to use its predictive powers to keep an eye out for any danger. Goh says that they should make the first move, since it would be bad if they were ambushed by someone in hiding. Horace then says that maybe they should hide, since the objective of the mission is to survive, not to battle anyone, so they can clear the mission if they just hide until it's over. Now this sounds like a good idea, but it isn't, because of two reasons. One, they can't hide for long, because every 10 minutes, their position will be revealed. Second, the mission is not to survive until a timer runs out. The mission is to be the last person standing. So like in any battle royale, even if you survive until the end by avoiding fights, you will still need to fight in the end when there is only one other person or team left. Because it is not over until only one person or team remains. So while they can improve their odds by hiding, they cannot guarantee that they will win. Also, I see that Horace is the kind of player that would find a place where they can camp for the entirety of a match in a battle royale. Now Goh's expression here suggests that he is not a fan of Horace's idea, probably because he realizes one or both of the things I mentioned. The countdown on their phones then reaches 0 and the map is once again visible, alongside the location of other players. This reminds Horace that they wouldn't be able to hide for long even if they wanted to. Goh says that they should come up with a strategy to defeat their rivals. Horace and Goh then notice that the map shows that most of the other challengers are paired up, that they don't seem to be battling, and that they are even moving it together. This of course means that the other challengers got wise to the tactic of teaming up. The map then goes back on cooldown. Goh says that those that are still in the game are those who realized that teams have the advantage. Inteleon and Gardevoir then detect that there is danger nearby. Sure enough, two trainers emerge from the shadows, and they both get ready to battle alongside their Pokemon, a Bayonet and a Shiftry. Now surprisingly, while Shiftry's trainer does look like Shiftry, Bayonet's trainer does not look like Bayonet, so I guess that they do make exceptions. Shiftry's trainer says that he will take care of Inteleon, while Bayonet's trainer says that he will deal with Gardevoir. These are good calls since they are choosing to battle the opponent that they have a type advantage against. So Shiftry uses Razor Leaf and Inteleon counters with Mud Shot. While Inteleon shoots down most of the leaves, it still takes a hit. Meanwhile, Bayonet uses Phantom Force to sneak up on Gardevoir, who uses Reflect to keep Bayonet at bay. But Bayonet then uses Shadow Sneak to go around the Reflect and it lands a hit on Gardevoir. Goh realizes that they are at a type disadvantage and he is about to battle alone, but Horace tells him not to. This makes Goh remember what happened in episode 102, that his refusal to work with others led to failure. So Goh decides to coordinate with Horace. Horace will focus on defense, while Goh will focus on offense. Shiftry then uses Leaf Blade on Inteleon, but Gardevoir blocks the attack with Reflect. Inteleon then hits Shiftry with Mud Shot. Bayonet then uses Shadow Ball on Gardevoir. But Inteleon protects Gardevoir with Mudshot, which shoots down both the Shadow Ball and Bayonet. Bayonet and its trainer end up knocked out as a result. Shiftry then uses Razor Leaf on Inteleon, which lands a direct hit. But Gardevoir heals Inteleon with Heal Pulse. Inteleon then uses Liquidation to defeat Shiftry. With their Pokemon defeated, the two trainers head back to the entrance, while Goh and Horace celebrate their victory. You see more battles like this that do not end with one attack, that require coordination and teamwork, and where Goh and Horace struggle would have gone a long way into making this episode and mission more enjoyable and thrilling. So the episode then cuts to Lyla and Shunya, who have just defeated two other challengers. This reveals that Lyla and Shunya did partner up, which is not surprising. Lyla comments that she is disappointed because the challengers they just defeated were weak, that she was expecting this mission to be tougher. But Shunya says that he wonders if this is true, since anyone could be an easy mark if they are caught off guard. This shows that while they are a team, which would suggest that they are alike, Lyla and Shunya do have a clear distinction. Lyla is ruthless, while Shunya does have some compassion. Also, I knew at this point that Lyla and Shunya would survive till the end, and that they would face Goh and Horace. I also wanted to point out that the trainers Lyla and Shunya just defeated are also dressed like their Pokemon. Back on track with the classic trend, I see. The episode then cuts to Ash and Asahi, who are still watching the mission. Ash is happy because Goh and Horace are doing well, while Asahi says it's time, and she pushes a button, which releases a group of Magby, a group of Rosalia, a group of Coffin, and a group of Jumpluff into the facility. The episode then cuts to Goh and Horace, who are walking down a hall. They both see the map on their phones, which reveals that there aren't many challengers left. Horace is happy because the mission might be over sooner than they expected. But this happiness is short-lived, since the mob of Jumpluff soon appears. Goh, Horace, and their Pokemon manage to get out of the way of the Jumpluff. Now the Jumpluff are emitting a powder. Goh wonders what this is, but when he gets a closer look, he gets drowsy. Horace tells Goh not to fall asleep, that this is sleep powder. This surprised me, because this looks more like poison powder. Goh snaps out of his drowsiness and he wonders if this is part of the mission, while Horace says that they should make a run for it, which they do. However, they soon run into the Coffin. Since the Jumpluff are still behind them, they are forced to go down a side path, while the Jumpluff and Coffin chase them. We then see that Goh and Horace are not the only ones being accosted by the intruding Pokemon. Lyla and Shunya are being chased by the Magby, while another pair of challengers were put to sleep by the Rosalia. Ash sees all of this and he is shocked. He wonders if Asahi did this. Asahi says that if challengers wish to be chasers, then they need to be ready for anything, because who knows what will happen during the search for Mew. If someone panics and falls apart, then they will hold the others back. They need to be able to make the right call in situations like this. Now every battle royale has the gas, or the fire, or the zone. Basically an environmental hazard that impedes and pushes players. I guess that Pokemon's version of this is a bunch of Pokemon chasing you around. The episode then cuts to Goh, Horace, and their Pokemon, who manage to avoid the Jumpluff and Coffin by hiding in a room. Once the coast is clear, they leave their hiding spot. Goh is surprised because Horace knew of the location of this room. Horace says that he committed it to memory when he saw it on the map. He also remembers where the other challengers are, though they probably moved due to all the commotion. This shows that Horace has a good memory. Horace then wonders if they really need to battle the other challengers, that he does not like this because he'd rather make friends. This reinforces what was apparent in episode 102, that Horace is hopelessly kind, to the point that he is naive and gullible. Goh says that they cannot clear the mission unless they battle, but Horace says that all the challengers are allies, since they all want to find the Mew, so why can't they all work together? This leaves Goh unsure of what to say, and before he can think of anything to say, they hear a scream. So Goh and Horace decide to find the source of the scream. They soon find who screamed. It turns out that it was Lyla, who is tending to her leopard who seems to be hurt. Lyla soon exclaims, "Please help me," when she sees Goh and Horace. Lyla says that she and Shunya promised to work together, but then Shunya attacked her. Shunya says while looking evil that he simply took a chance that presented itself. It's Layla's fault for lowering her guard. It's fitting that he says this considering that he is the one that said that someone who lowers their guard is easy prey. Lyla exclaims that Leopard is already unable to battle, so it's cruel to keep attacking it. She then exclaims, "Please lend me your strength," to Goh and Horace. Now my reaction to this whole ordeal was, smells like a trap. Now Horace immediately agrees to help Lyla, because like I said before, he is just too kind for his own good. Goh, however, intervenes, saying we cannot trust her, and he brings up a very good point. The Rotom drone is not here to declare that Leopard is unable to battle and that Lyla is disqualified, which casts doubt on her plight. But Lyla exclaims, "How cruel! You think that I am lying?" Horace agrees that Goh was mean and he says we should trust her. He then gets ready to battle Shunya alongside Gardevoir. However, Lyla smiles wickedly and she tells Leopard to use Sucker Punch on Gardevoir, a fitting move given the situation. So Leopard bites Gardevoir and Bickabolt then hits Gardevoir with Discharge. Gardevoir is knocked down and it is paralyzed as a result. Shunya then says that he did not think that Layla's plan would work. Lyla says that she thought that he, meaning Goh, was catching on to the plan, but thankfully his partner is very gullible. She says this last part with a malicious smile, showing just how evil she really is. Though despite this, I do not dislike her. Horace is of course not happy to hear all of this, but this does teach him a very important lesson about being too nice. Lyla and Shunya then confidently get ready to battle Goh and Inteleon, since the battle is now 2v1. Shunya also reveals here that he and Lyla took advantage of the commotion caused by the Pokemon from earlier to dispatch all the other challengers, meaning that they took out players running from the gas/zone, a classic tactic. This means that the mission comes down to just the 4 challengers in this room. Goh tells Inteleon to hide in the nearby water. From hiding, Inteleon uses Snipe Shot, though Leopard and Bickabolt easily avoid the attack. Horace then apologizes to Goh, saying, "This is all my fault," but Goh says, "Don't worry, leave this to me." Inteleon then uses Snipe Shot again, but it still cannot land a hit. Shunya then says that they will force Inteleon out of hiding and he calls for Discharge, which Bickabolt uses on the entire body of water. This does smoke out Inteleon. Bickabolt then uses Discharge again while Leopard uses Night Slash, but Inteleon is able to avoid both attacks. Goh then tells Inteleon to camouflage itself, though Bickabolt uses String Shot to catch and reveal Inteleon. Since the situation is getting out of hand, Gardevoir decides to stand and fight. Leopard then uses Dark Pulse to hit the trapped Inteleon. Lyla and Shunya declare that the battle is over and that victory is theirs. However, Gardevoir uses Confuse Ray on both Leopard and Bickabolt. This surprises Lyla and Shunya, with Lyla exclaiming that Gardevoir should not be able to move. This is what you get for not going for the double tap. You should have made sure that your opponent was truly defeated. Seizing the opportunity, Inteleon breaks free and it uses Snipe Shot, which hits Leopard. Frustrated by Gardevoir's interference, Shunya decides to turn his attention to Gardevoir and he calls for X-Scissor. But Inteleon uses Liquidation to hit Bickabolt before it can attack. Bickabolt is knocked out right next to Leopard, who was knocked out by Snipe Shot. With their Pokemon out, Lyla and Shunya are disqualified. They both withdraw their Pokemon while Lyla says that they will get their payback in the next mission. The 2 of them then leave. Goh and Horace then see the map on their phones, which reveals that they really are the only 2 challengers left standing. so they both rejoice because they survived. Ash also celebrates, but Asahi says, don't celebrate just yet. She then informs Goh and Horace that only one person can clear the mission, so Goh and Horace must battle to decide who wins. This is of course not surprising since I expected it. Also, I guess that they also wanted to teach challengers that it is alright to stab others in the back once they are no longer useful to you, or when they no longer align themselves with your mission. This is a terrible lesson to teach people, especially when they are expected to work together. Now this revelation leaves Goh and Horace in shock, but Horace says, I guess there is no choice, but I am glad that you are the one remaining, Goh. He then says to Asahi, I am withdrawing, which shocks Asahi, who wonders if Horace is serious. Horace says that he will not battle Goh, he will not battle a friend. Now this frustrated me for two reasons. First, this shows that Horace did not learn anything from what happened with Lyla. He is still way too kind and naive. It is good to be kind, but not to such an extent that you would even compromise your own dreams. Second, this means that Goh wins by default. Sure, he had to battle his way to this point, but now he will just be awarded the win instead of having to fight to the bitter end. Horace then says that he will just wait for another chance. But Goh interjects, and he talks some sense into Horace, saying, you can't. You don't know if you will get another chance. Chasing after Mew to get to Celebi. Wasn't that your precious dream? It's a chance at catching Mew. A chance at making your dream a reality. You cannot just abandon that. I wanted to support you, Horace, but I cannot just give up either. So let's have a battle, and we will both go all out. No holding back. After hearing this, Horace decides to battle. I have to say that props to Goh for his speech, considering how selfish and self-centered he can be, and how lukewarm he can be about his dreams sometimes, and how often he shies away from difficult things or things he does not want to do. You would expect him to just be like, yeah, I don't want to battle you either, Horace, but I do want to win, so thanks. Don't sweat it though, next time I can help you win. Instead, however, Goh adamantly tells Horace not to take the easy way out. He tells Horace to hold on to his dream, that said dream is precious, and that there might not be a next time, so he should do his best now. These are all things that Goh needed to be told in the past, but he's the one saying these things now, showing that he has matured and grown at least a little bit. Also, props to him for not taking the easy way out, which is something that he definitely would have done before, even at the cost of his friend. So yeah, I commend Goh for this, and this made me like the episode more. Also, seeing friends reluctantly agree to battle like this reminds me of Ash and Richie. So Goh and Horace get ready to battle. They both realize that since Inteleon and Gardevoir are at their limit, one hit will decide the battle. Goh has Inteleon camouflage itself, while Horace has Gardevoir sense danger. Inteleon then uses Mud Shot, but Gardevoir avoids the attack and it counters with Moonblast, which misses since Inteleon is still in hiding. Inteleon then reveals itself, which is not smart, and it tries to use Snipe Shot. But Gardevoir uses Confuse Ray to blind Inteleon. Gardevoir then uses Moonblast, which lands a clean hit on Inteleon, who is knocked out. The drone then swoops in to declare that Inteleon is unable to battle, so Horace clears the mission and that they should all go back to the entrance. Goh is shocked at first, but he soon smiles as he withdraws and thanks Inteleon. Goh then congratulates Horace, who says, I owe it to you for showing me how naive I was being. So, Horace finally learned his lesson. Horace then says that they should head back, but Goh says, you go on ahead, which Horace does. It's clear that Goh wants to stay behind to lament his loss in private. And Horace clearly knows this, which is why he respected Goh's wish without question. I do wonder if Goh regrets encouraging Horace. Also, you could say that being naive is a two-way street here, since you could say that Goh was naive for not taking the easy win in front of him. Instead, he opted to encourage his opponent, which led to his loss. Now I have to say that at this point I was happy because Goh lost. And not because I dislike Goh and I wanted to see him fail, but rather because Goh has pretty much only experienced success in his journey, especially when it comes to Project Mew. He has cleared every mission, even the raid battle against Articuno, where Goh actually hampered the mission with his selfishness. Therefore, it's about time that Goh experienced an actual loss. It's about time he tasted failure for real. This should help him improve and it will make his future accomplishments more believable and earned, since he actually had to suffer and overcome adversity to succeed. Also, this should help him grow and mature more, since like the old saying goes, failure builds character. So Goh losing made me like and appreciate this episode even more. But again, this would not last. So everyone gathers outside the facility where Asahi congratulates Horace and she awards him 3 Mew tokens, which Horace is thankful for. However, Asahi then says that she will also award 2nd place, meaning Goh 2 tokens. This frustrated me because it shows that in the end, Goh simply cannot fail. He is simply not allowed to fail. Even when he stumbles, he just stands back up seconds later like nothing happened. It's like if you trip and fall down only to realize that you tripped on a bar of gold. Sure, you're probably hurt, and you messed up by tripping. But hey, you are rich now, so in the end, you are a winner. This is Goh in a nutshell. What is the point of having him lose if it does not really matter in the end? And how can you expect me to care if he loses when he never really loses? Losing and failing should help a character grow. They should improve by learning to overcome adversity. But if they never lose, then they can never really improve. Just look at Ash. He has lost and failed a lot in the past. Most of the time, this made us feel bad because losing and failing meant something for Ash because they were real and they would make Ash reconsider his tactics, strategies, way of training his Pokemon, his bond with his Pokemon, his way of thinking, his way of battling, etc. And Ash would always come back swinging, stronger and better than before. And when he went on to win his next battle, we would rejoice because we knew that he earned it and that he worked hard for it. This is how it should be. Even Horace in this very same episode messes up twice due to being naive, and he ends up learning the error of his ways. He will probably be less gullible going forward. This shows just how much failure can shape a character. But Goh does not abide by these rules, which is part of the reason why he is not a good character. This episode was the perfect chance to finally give Goh a meaningful loss that allows him to become better. But this chance was squandered in the end, which is a huge shame. And yes, I understand that sometimes 2nd and 3rd places should be rewarded as well. But there are times, especially now since this was a battle royale, where only one person should win, because this makes victory more rewarding and losing more meaningful. Asahi then says that 3rd and 4th places, meaning Lyla and Shunya, get 1 token each, which makes both of them happy, while Ash is happy because the top 4 were all rewarded for their efforts. Asahi then contacts Tsurugi, wondering if his event is over. Tsurugi confirms that it is, and Asahi wonders who cleared it. Tsurugi says that Gary was the one who cleared it, to which Asahi responds that she thought so. This likely means that Asahi and Tsurugi were overseeing the same mission, but in different places with different challengers. Goh is not happy when he hears that Gary cleared his mission. Tsurugi then says that the rainy season is ending sooner than expected, so they cannot waste more time selecting chasers. So whoever has less than 4 Mew tokens now can be disqualified. Asahi agrees and she reveals who the remaining challengers are and how many tokens they have. Gary leads the pack with 12 tokens, Lyla is close behind with 9 tokens, Shunya and Horace are both tied for 3rd place with 8 tokens, while Goh is tied for 4th place with 7 tokens. Though I don't know why the screen says that Goh is tied for 7th place. This shocks Goh since he is so far behind. And I guess that this is supposed to be my consolation. That even though Goh never really loses, at least he is still lagging behind a lot of people. Well, this is a start, yes, but it is not good enough. The episode ends with the narrator saying that Chaser selection is reaching its climax. Will Goh be able to become a Chaser by making it into the top 3? This reveals that only the top 3 can become Chasers, which just happens to be just enough for Gary, Horace, and Goh to all become Chasers together. So overall, I am very much mixed on this episode. I love Battle Royale, so I did enjoy the setup and the theme of the mission. I think that several of the fights were pretty good. I do like Lyla and Shunya since they are just the right amount of cool and evil to make for great additional rivals that can spice things up for Project Mew by being extra opponents that Goh and the others must overcome. I like how Goh encouraged Horace, which shows that Goh has matured and grown at least a little bit. I like that Horace defeated Goh, so Goh tasted a true defeat for the first time, even if this was undermined in the end. And I like that we learned how many tokens everyone has and what is required to join Project Mew. However, I think that the first few battles were pretty lackluster and uninteresting. And I absolutely hate that Goh's loss ended up not meaning much. So while this episode did have several good things about it, it also had several bad things about it, which ultimately leads to this episode being just okay. Hopefully the next Project Mew episode will be better. But that's the video. As always, leave your own thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and would like to see more like it, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I love Pokemon and I love making videos on both the anime and the games. Also, please consider clicking the links on screen so that you can check out more videos like this right away. Thank you very much for watching and let's meet again in the next video.